Oh, you're what's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of having, like, legitimately, like, my fucking brother. He is a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu brown belt under the great Noah Tillis from Tillis BJJ. He's an avid wrestling fan, and we're going to deep dive into that. He is Anthony Aguilera, not to be confused with Jesus or Aaron Aguilera that fucking stabbed John Cena. But yes, Anthony Aguilera is here. What's up, my man?
Just trying to get around this quarantine, man. Just trying to train and do as much as I can.
Dude, I mean, so you're trying to get around the quarantine. I'm just fucking getting around during quarantine.
Me
Jesus
too,
Christ.
me too, me too, me too. But I'm trying to cut down a little bit. Got up to like 245. So I'm cutting back down. I'm like 232 right now. You know, on a good day. So I'm just trying to make sure I got everything going.
No, man. Well, even still, I mean, you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and that especially at the weight divisions that you compete in. Like I remember, like Walter Castanelos,
Mhm.
who a friend of both of ours, and everything like that, and he's like literally like Sasquatch jiu-jitsu. So it's one thing to like, he's a black belt now under Gabe Rudinger, but like, he was a purple and brown belt when I first met him,
Yeah,
and geez, like he would just not only did he have the skill, but just like the size, and it's just like, oh my god, it's
yeah,
a scary thing. So,
it is.
most people are like, oh well, oh, if you're big in jujitsu and whatever, it works for you or whatever. It's like, nah, you get hurt the hell of a lot more.
Facts. I This past year, so 2019, I got hurt the most I've ever gotten hurt in my jiu-jitsu career, which is almost 13 years. So it was terrible, but it's all because of the weight that I put on. And I think this is the longest I've ever sat out at jiu-jitsu was 3 months. I tore my pec, came back on my birthday, competed, won on my birthday, did the SJJF Worlds, and I fractured my elbow. And I was out another like month and a half. It was terrible.
Oh man, that sounds like the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. You sound like that
Yeah,
damn book.
it sucked, man. I was like, oh, I'm hitting my stride again. Oh, let's go. And then and then it's like injury. Oh, okay, I'm back again. Oh, injury. I was like, oh, okay. It's all because of the
And
weight,
that,
though, man.
and you know what? That's one thing that most people don't realize. As well, I mean, there's a lot that people still in 2020 with the advances of jujitsu. I mean, you're a fight to win competitor.
Right.
There's submission on the shore, all submission only females, EBI. There's a
Yes. Yep.
litany, Metamoris from years ago, Polaris. You go, there's mainstream events with cash money. I mean, AJ Argazam, who's fighting tonight at Bellator. I mean,
Tonight.
he's a millionaire. Same thing with like the Martinez brothers, Boogie and Richie.
Those are my dudes,
So
man. They're dope. Richie and
yeah,
Gio. Oof.
but there's still a lot that most people don't realize about jujitsu, and like, I mean, they're athletes. I mean, legitimate athletes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a different sensation for us. I mean, we obviously don't get paid the same as like MMA guys or regular athletes, but all we do is we grind, man. We're all grinders. The guys that are here, we're here to stay. We try to do our best to make it our life and get paid for it. So in that regard, like for me, I don't care about money. I'm not that type of guy who's like, oh, money, money, money. But I mean, we have to survive, and that's what money is surviving, right?
No, absolutely. And Jesse Velasquez, I believe he's a fellow brown belt, if not purple. Jesse, you got
Purple.
to clarify for me. But Jesse is like, yeah, they say technique is everything, but size and strength are big factors. If you have it all, you're pretty much murdering people. So
I've
That's
known
it, you know.
Jesse. I've known Jesse and his brother for years. They were when we were kids. We came up the ranks together. I never had the honor of competing against them, but I watched them. I was those kids are amazing, man. They're amazing. They shouldn't be purple belts, to say the
Ye-
least.
Yeah, man, it's little like double dragon, you know, like twin terrors and whatever, because
Yeah,
they're they're twins and they both can fuck you up. You're like, oh, I'll take the weaker one. There's not a weaker
they don't. They both
one.
don't have a downside either. They're both good on top and bottom. It sucks.
That's what she
I
said.
I wish I would have had the honor to compete against those guys though. Those guys, like I said, growing up in the ranks, it was those guys were on top of the game. Those were like
Nope.
the high standard of jiu-jitsu for the kids at the time.
Yeah, man, and I mean Jesse, right? You know, he's in his own right. In addition to being, you know, a proficient jiu-jitsu competitor, you know, he's won an IFS title
Right, yeah.
in MMA. You know, he's training right now with the Fight Academy, formerly of Shack Systems with Rusty Shackelford. So, I
Right.
mean, that dude is still, you know, like
He's still
one
on
to
top
watch.
of it. Yeah. I see that guy at tournaments, I'm always like, "What's up, bro?" Like it's like I said, we've always been kind of cordial to each other, kind of friendly, cool. But man, I want to compete against that guy. He's dope, man. Just to get beat up by him. It's not even about like me winning or losing. I just want to get beat up by him. Kid's amazing. I think he's a little
Yeah,
older than me too, and I say kid.
yeah, he's not. We're like a couple years difference, you know.
Yeah, I think he's like a year older than me.
Wow.
I don't know. I was the
Yeah,
young buck, bro.
yeah. Well, he's actually saying injuries are the struggle of an athlete, and hell yeah, bro. I see you all the time at tournaments, killing it, and wish my bro is still doing it. So apparently Jesse's brother's out. All the best wishes to the
Of
Velasquez
course.
family because they're awesome. You know,
Awesome people, man. They're great.
damn right. No, I mean obviously, you know, getting into to grappling of any kind, it's a different world, right? I mean, it's
Definitely.
not like there's no high school jiu-jitsu teams or
The-
letterman jackets or anything like that. You know, so where did your I guess career first begin?
for me, my dad and my grandpa passed away in 2006 of and then the next year, August, my grandpa's sister was like, "Hey, I found a spot that I think you should try out. I don't know what it is, but I know they wear gis. But I want you to try it. Just try it." And I was like, "Okay, I'm not doing anything. I'll try it for sure." Went in for my first class at New Breed Academy, and I hated it. I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. I got my butt kicked by world champions already. Like I was like, my first day, I don't know what I'm doing. Like of course I've horseplay like WWE, at the house and stuff like that, but I don't know how to hip escape or submissions, and I just got tortured. And I was like, this is stupid. And she asked me, she's like, "Oh, how'd you like it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll just lie. Oh, it's really good. It was fun." And she goes, "Oh, cool. I signed you up for a year." And I was like, "Oh, what did I do? Oh man, I'm stuck in this." Like she paid it all up front, cash. And I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna. That's rude of me to not do this year." And then 5 months later, I competed at the Gracie Worlds, and at that time, it was kind of a big deal to compete at Gracie Worlds. I was only 5 months in. I had two matches, and I knew two things. I knew how to hip toss people, and I knew how to do the Americana or key lock, and that's all I was going for. I'd mount people and key lock them. And I had two matches, and I won. I won gold my first tournament, and after that, I still hated jujitsu, but I love competing. And then that's when I started talking to myself, and I was like, well, if I'm gonna be a good competitor, I gotta get good at jiu-jitsu. And then I fell in love with jiu-jitsu, and then just kind of took off from there.
Now, did you supplement it with striking or anything like that, or?
I did 2 weeks of striking, And a lot of people were telling me, "Oh, you hit hard and you're accurate." Not, thanks to my mama for that one. But I had worlds coming up like 2 weeks later, and I was like, I gotta focus on jujitsu, and I never did striking again.
No, man, that I mean, kudos, because either way, I kind of had that same deal. I actually, in my mid 20s, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a fighter after watching like WC and whatever, and
Right,
then I essentially enrolled in because I knew there was an important component of MMA in jiu-jitsu, right? And I thought that
right,
was a prerequisite. Like you had to do it. I didn't know it was a zone sport and what have you, right? And I signed up kind of like the same way that your mom signed you up. I played like 6 months all at once in cash and whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna do this. And that was at Matt and Jill Baker's True Jitsu up in
right.
Bakersfield.
Bakersfield, yeah. But
Yeah,
Kylie's a savage, man. Kylie
like for real,
Baker,
for real.
I competed against her when I was an orange belt. She's different. She's a different breed. If I wasn't a little bit bigger than her, I would have got wrecked. But she gave me probably the toughest match of my whole orange belt career. I could. It was hard to pass her guard. It was her whole thing is just her whole game's different, man. And
Yeah,
she's we're the same rank now. We're like the same age. She's just cool people. Her whole family's cool. Brothers and all that family, mom and dad are all dope people.
no, absolutely, absolutely, man. I credit so much to them. But it's crazy because I was actually there when Jill got her black belt from John Jock,
Yeah.
and what essentially happened was, and what kind of pushed me into it was the fact that I had a I had a coworker that trained at my former like employer and whatever, and we would
Mhm.
just go on 90-minute lunches. We worked in corporate America or whatever. We went on 90-minute lunches just down the road to the game room and
Right.
whatever, and we drill. And then that dude, he actually lived in Palmdale, right? So
Okay.
he couldn't attend night classes, but I lived there in town, so I'd go to both morning and night classes, like every day, 6 months, 7 days a week, open mat wherever,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
yeah, this nutty. And then when I there was like a competition in Long Beach that was coming up, and I had saved up the money and to go ahead and compete, and I got laid off, right? And then I was just like, oh, I could use the money to compete. And then there was John Jock's seminar. Him and Jay Zabalos were coming up to Bakersfield, right? So I was like, or I can put 50 on this and then eat for another 150 to feed my family. So I did
Right.
that, and that ended up being the day that Jill got her black belt. So Matt's a black belt, started the school when he was a John Jock blue belt, and then Jill, and then all of the kids, all three of the kids, they're just beasts.
They're all phenoms, bro. They're all really dope people, man. I see her little brother, how much he's grown over the years. I remember he was doing like dream tournaments and all this stuff, and now he's like probably taller than me. I'm like, this is crazy. This is nutty, bro. Like, it's stupid. Why couldn't I grow that much?
Yeah, dude, I remember when I was trading, this had to be what, like 2015 or something like that. Roman was like a yellow belt and whatever,
Yeah,
and just like, and yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that stuff that'll make you feel old.
makes me feel old, and I'm only 21. So,
Wow, I didn't even know. Damn.
yeah,
Now I feel super
22,
old. Thank you.
22 in October, man.
Damn, right on. Oh, man,
Yeah,
you've accomplished so much, and done so many things in your jiu-jitsu career, and also the way that you carry yourself. I mean, along with a lot of people, probably thought you were older.
I get it a lot. It's actually funny. My girlfriend, when I before I was with her, we first started hanging out with each other. She thought I was 34. I had my hair grown out a little bit more, and I had scruffed all it. And she was like, "Oh, you're like 34, right?" I was like, "No, 18." So it was crazy, but I mean, yeah, I was 18 And then now people are like, "You're like 27, right?" And I'm like, "No, I'm 21." Yeah, I get it. I look old. Whatever.
But that's just kind of, I mean, I did the, I'm horrible at math. I mean, not so much as the Inglewood high school education or whatever, but like 21, about to be 22 in October, and a 13-year career as of right now. Holy
Right.
hell! This dude is like, gee and diapers almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So August 13th. So next Thursday, it'll be my 13th year officially. Yeah.
Whoa, this is like a commemoration like podcast. Like, kudos.
Right.
Yeah, man, that's
Yeah.
fucking dope.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, man. I can't picture me doing anything else. It's all I know. It's all I know. I think about jiu-jitsu 24 ever. I don't say 24/7 because it's just 24 ever.
Yeah.
I'll be playing
No,
Call of Duty and I'm like jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu. So it's just always on my mind. It's always on my mind.
dude, I mean, like, kind of sniper in the shit, and then like, I wonder if I could Imanari roll this motherfucker.
I'm too big to do Imanari rolls, but they're fun to
Okay.
watch. They're fun to watch.
All
Maybe in my
right.
younger days, yeah. Maybe in my younger days when I was more athletic, but not anymore.
That's dope. Now Jesse is saying, I'm small to compete with you, but appreciate it. You're a beast, bro. And he said that I thought you were older too. I just remember you being super young when I met you.
Yeah,
So
man. We're we're close to the same age.
yeah, lifetime martial artists,
That's a
respect.
fact.
And yeah, man. So I mean, obviously, I mean, where did you first start? Your first jiu-jitsu school?
My first jiu-jitsu school was at New Breed Academy. It's in Santa Fe Springs under Johnny Ramirez and John Awano. Um, that they changed my life as well as this guy named Paul Barbosa. He was the head coach for the kids for a lot of my jiu-jitsu career. He had some, assistant coaches with we call him Ugly. His name's John Santoyo, John or Jay. He has like 20 names, first names. It's kind of crazy. But we called him Big Ugly. So, shouts to Big Ugly. And then I had this guy, Rodrigo. We called him Little Mike Tyson. He's a bad boy, man. From Brazil. He lives in Maine now. He's fun. That guy's just fun to be around. But yeah, I had a lot of coaches growing up, but my main instructor was Paul Barbosa, and I was kind of his guinea pig, so to speak. He kind of I was in his first kids class and his first adult class. It was kind of like same week almost, and we just kind of built a friendship over time, and he did a lot for me, built my game, and did everything for my game. And then growing when I started becoming an adult, we kind of grew apart a little bit, and now he's in the police force, and I'm still in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I think you made the right choice. I mean, especially now, but you know,
I mean, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's crazy fucking times, man. So I
Yeah.
mean, how how long did that kind of relationship um basically start or last, and then what
So
essentially led you to Tillis?
so I was at Newbridge for 11 years. Um, Competitively 11 years. We did a lot of great things, a lot of trial and errors. Um, I took over some of the kid class with Paul over time, and I was coaching there for a while. And just eventually, we kind of just me and the school just kind of just split, and I felt like I needed to challenge myself with a lot more wrestlers, and that's where Noah's has a lot more wrestlers, a ton of great wrestlers, and like I love the guys at Newbridge still. Like all the guys that train there, they're dope people. They still have my back no matter what. They'll hit me up. Like they hit me up for the podcast and they're like, what time, where, how do I link it? what's going on? Is there a special announcement? I'm like, no, it's just, me and my buddy doing a podcast together. And but they support me through and through. I have super fights, and they're still reaching out to me, trying to buy tickets. But Noah's for me is like the next challenge, and it reminds me of the old school way we used to train. And I felt like that's what I needed, because the new way I felt kind of stale, and I was still progressing, but I wasn't reaching the full potential that I had in terms of all around game, where I was gonna get beat up. I needed to get beat up more. And Noah's school has a lot more big guys than New Breed, but there was a ton of big guys at New Breed that I loved, and I loved getting beat up by. Big Gabe. You've met Mike Quintero. He was supposed to compete
Yes.
against your friend.
Yes.
Mike's a beast, man. I love Mike. His brother Chris. There's Aubrey Callum. That's my dude. All those bigger guys, they all beat me up and handled me. Mike Beltron is another one. That guy's a monster. The Beltron special. The Beltron special. That's a move. That's all he has. But there's a lot of great guys at over there at that school. But I felt like I needed more of a wrestling aspect. So when I moved to Noah's, it was like, okay, I took like a month or two off, and I got really fat in that span. I was eating a lot of In-N-Out, and I got up to like 240 pounds. And when I went to Noah's, we did the 5-on-5 tournament at the Gym Crashers, and
Yeah.
Noah turns to me and goes, "Hey, I need you to get down to 210." And I had 2 weeks. He goes, "Can I count on you?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "All right, I'll see you at 210." So I made away at 210. I actually was 211, and competed at that. That was my first tournament back where I felt comfortable, and I got to show off the wrestling skill there, and that's when I met everybody, man. I met uh, John and all those guys, dude. I got beat up by one of their guys too, the caveman guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. That caveman is like John De La O's like secret weapon. He's competed in both like MMA and he's done jiu-jitsu tournaments and I mean,
Yeah,
bloody hell, he's even done a couple pro wrestling stuff.
that guy's strong, man. Like, let me tell you, I would like. This is where I mess up a lot in jiu-jitsu when it comes to super fights. Is I'm a points guy. I tell everybody at the gym, I'm like, I'm the best points guy in the gym, because I just points, score, 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 score. And it kind of bites me when I do submission only tournaments. So while I'm doing these moves and I'm like pushing towards submissions, I'm like, okay, I scored here. I'm up, I'm up, I'm up. So when I was competing against him, I double legged him, I passed his guard, I mounted him, and I was like, I'm winning. And then we went into overtime. It was the EBI rule overtime. And yeah, don't let that guy take your back. That was strong, man. He cross faced me, and I was trying to push his elbow up, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm not moving. Yeah, yeah, I just couldn't do anything. It was kind of crazy. But that
Yeah,
was my first tournament back. That was kind of cool.
and I mean, he's pretty deceiving, right? Like he probably stands all of like 5'6". I know, like doing the Gym Crashers podcast, I'd pass him on the hall out in the hallway or coming in or whatever, and I'm towering over him. Like my chin is at his like head, and but I've heard stories, and it's just like that's the secret weapon. I mean, if you go into like pro wrestling, euphemisms and what have you,
Right,
that's almost like the enforcer. That's John De La O's judo Gene LaBelle. Kind of
right.
like you need to stretch
That
somebody out.
guy, but he's a super nice guy at the same time. Super nice guy, super humble. And he was like, "Bro, you're like super strong." I was like, "No, I know the timing, and I understand how the body works when it comes to jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for so long. I'm not strong whatsoever. You tell me to lift something, I'm sitting there. You tell me to go train for 2 hours, I could do that all day long." I just I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
that's a
it's not too hard to lay on somebody.
no, no, hell no, it isn't. Hell no, it isn't. Um, which is kind of weird. Like I've had some kettlebells, and that makes me kind of feel like it. But like before this whole thing, essentially, shook down the way it did, I was actually
Right.
gonna go to Atlanta, Pasadena, because I wanted to train. I wanted damn Naga title. I made a vow with a bulletproof troop that hey, he actually lent me one of his Naga titles, right? And he was
Yeah.
like, hey, when you win yours, you can give me mine back. We'll trade off. So I've got it, and that's still the deal. But I mean, it
It's
just
tough.
it's a weird one right now, right? So
Yeah.
obviously, it's that speaks to a lot of like what jujitsu gives you, because like you find strength and speed and power and resilience because
Yeah, that's a
shit.
big
I
one.
mean, I've been tossed by Kylie Baker like 100, like 10 feet across the room, landing at the feet of my wife, and she's like 12, and I'm like a grown ass man and shit like that.
Right?
So
She's
you know,
different though. Kylie's
so,
different.
yeah, no, she's different. I mean, and then the next one, I ended up rolling with Julia Avila, who's now in the
Hmm.
UFC, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah. So that was rough. It was rough. And shout out to those gals. But I mean, in jiu-jitsu, you learn skills that you didn't know you had, and
Yeah.
you're able to capitalize on them in ways that you never thought you could.
Right. Yeah. I discovered that I had really good balance my first day of jiu-jitsu. I was like, whoa, how did I get this? What is this, a secret power? It was harder for guys to roll me over than I thought. And I was like, wait, this I got something. Well, it kind of bit me too, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a top guy then. Well, here I am 13 years later, still a top guy, and I don't know how to play bottom. So it kind of bit me a little bit.
Yeah, but and those are the things, the little intricacies of,
Yeah.
like people play an all around game. It's a game within the game. They play all around, they do submissions.
Right.
Then the top game versus bottom game. Oh, my toe holds are strong, or leg locks, right?
Leg
Um,
locks. Yeah.
it's so versatile. It's so versatile.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Noah Tillis is one of the best, man, because he plays everything and Noah's the type of guy. He's a very positional player, but if he sees a submission there, he's gonna take it. Noah, I mean, I've known Noah for ever since I started, and Noah's probably, I don't know, blue or purple belt when I started jiu-jitsu. So I seen him get promoted all the way up, and he's always been the same way. His game's never changed. It's always boom, 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 boom. All right, I got you. Yeah, so for me, it's like I'm trying to replicate that to a point, but I don't have a good guard game, so it's like, ooh. And Noah's wrestling is very underrated. People don't people. Oh yeah, he's a wrestler, but he didn't do anything like college wise. No, Noah has really good wrestling, and he's gonna blast right through you if he gets the opportunity to. And he doesn't look like he's really cares if you counter it or not. He just flows with it. He's one constant motion, and that's like the end all be all for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And when you go to Tillis BJJ out there in Whittier, California, you could see like all of the pictures and everything. I mean, in many respects, when Noah first started doing jujitsu, he looked like Haley Joel Osment from like like you know, and essentially I mean, he ends up becoming this superpower. I remember the first time I met Noah, it was at an open mat held at Fight Academy when I was going there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I was like, I mean, he looked super unassuming, and you would think that at this point of the game, like I would have known that jujitsu like killers could come in all shapes and sizes and whatever,
Right?
but I was still daft on the whole concept, right? So
Yeah.
Noah doesn't even like he's wearing his glasses, not like goggles or anything. His regular
Yep.
glasses with the rims and everything like that, fogged up from all the sweat. And I was like, I can take that, dude, bro. It was like one of the roughest times of my life. Now,
Yep.
obviously, he didn't hurt me. He knew where I was. Obviously, being
He
a black,
gentle.
but in those open mat situations, nobody's wearing ranked rash guards or whatever. This dude was in t-shirt and board shorts, like, you know,
That's Noah.
and yeah, and
That's
I
Noah.
mean, I remember literally, like, I think not that they were resting, but there was like Herb Dean, Yves Edwards, and Savant Young, and three guys who I idolized, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I fall like he rolls me, right? He sweeps me, and
It's all graceful.
I end up flying, just flying like Super Dave Osborne back in the day, looked like Johnny Knoxville, just like and I land right in the middle of them in conversation. Oh yeah, and Chris Cully too. It's like,
Oh wow. Yeah.
yeah, and
That's a,
I tucked my legs and I went to another white belt.
yeah. But yeah, Noah's like super graceful. He doesn't look like he'd hurt anybody. Growing up, I thought he looked like a nerd because of glasses and he kind of just carried himself like whatever. But that guy, I remember when I was at New Breed still, he came to get ready for one of the super fights. And I was like, okay, I feel like I could try to work my cardio on him. There's no working your cardio on that guy. That guy, when he feels pressure, that guy rises to the occasion. And I was trying to pressure him, and I was trying to put it down on Noah, man. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, but Noah turned on the switch and he just bodied me, and I was like, yeah, game over. I remember I tried to shoot like a single, and he guillotined me. Then he just applauded me, armbarred me, toe holding me. I was like, dude, yeah, I'm gonna go home and cry now. Thanks. It's like midnight. Thank you for beating me up for 4 hours, but cool. And never once. And he was you see him huffing and puffing. He was rolling with other people as well. He's huffing and puffing, but he never once complained. He just, all right, you want to bring it, bring it. That's the way he was, and that's the way he is now. You want to bring it, bring it. You know, that's for me. That's what I needed, and that's why I think he's the best coach for me, best professor for me,
No,
for
I
my
agree.
style.
I agree 100%. Having felt in the vein of New Day, I felt the power of one Noah Tillis for sure. And Jesse
He's different.
Velasquez, he said, "Yep, nerds are the most dangerous. They are
Facts.
100%. Agree with you,
Look at
hundred
Mikey.
percent."
Look at Noah. All these guys that look like nerds, they're straight thugs and killers, man. This ain't no game.
No, no, not a game at all. Not a game. Now, in your career thus far, right? Obviously, going from New Breed, going to Tillis, obviously now a coach at Tillis, right? What has been some of like the hallmarks of your career? I mean, fight to win. What are
Right.
some of the hallmarks of your career thus far?
For me, probably obviously fight to win because that's like one of the biggest stages. Um, I got a couple world championships from like IBJJF. I went back to back Nogi Worlds in I don't know like 2014. I don't even remember anymore. It's so long ago. I don't know. For me now at this point in my career, I don't care about medals. I don't care about money. I just want to go out there and see where I'm at. Um, you know, and I say kids, it's like I've been training longer than a lot of these guys, but they're a lot older than me. So I call them kids. I'm like, but I'm your daddy in the sport, but outside these walls, you guys are all older than me, so I have to respect you guys. But I
No,
don't care about medals anymore. I don't care about wins and losses. I don't. I just try to have fun first and foremost, and try to showcase my jujitsu the best I can, and show my students like, hey, it's possible, man. Like, who am I? I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody that didn't even like jujitsu, and here I am, 13 years later, loving jujitsu, loving the competition, and just trying to showcase for my kids, even my wrestlers. I teach wrestling at La Mirada High School. Even my wrestlers there, all of them support me, and they kind of like, if coach could do it, I could do it too. So that always motivates me to do it more, and try to be better always. So that's great for me. That's like the end all be all in my book right there. I don't care about, all the world championships and stuff like that anymore.
That's that's almost counterintuitive, right? Especially being like a wrestling fan or whatever. You know, Flair's a 16-time world champion. You know that those are things that you could pay $10 more for that autograph 8x10. You
Right?
know the
Yeah.
number of championships that you
It
win, right?
it is, but I mean, for me, I was about that stuff, dude. When I was younger, I was like, I used to get chills about it. Like, I stopped getting nervous about competing a long time ago, and it was just like, okay, it's just another match. And so when my kids get nervous now, or people that are competing for the first time, or even they still get nervous after times competing, I just tell them, hey, just an open mat. You're just training with somebody you've never trained with before, man. Like, just go out there, have fun, and learn. You win, the medal's an extra thing. You sign up to train. Just train. Just have fun. Don't care about the medal. Just do your best. And if you don't win, cool. Let's go train and work on those things. If you win, hey, you got a medal. Throw it somewhere. I mean, if it wasn't for me, I mean, for my mom, all my medals would probably be in a shoebox or something. But my mom has them all on the wall. They call it my wall. So it is what it is. But if it was up to me, I'd throw them all in the shoebox or a bag that could carry them all. I do have a lot of medals though, so it'd probably be a lot of shoeboxes.
Yeah, that's literally what I put in the description of this. Like, yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, but winner of a lot of shiny shit.
A lot. Yeah, but that was when I was younger. I used to compete like every other week when I was a kid. That's all I did. I didn't do sports in high school or middle school or anything like that. I did jujitsu. I did do basketball and football in middle school, and it didn't go out well for me. And I noticed my grades started dropping, so I was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I just want to do jujitsu. It's too much on my plate. I couldn't handle it. I was a stupid kid."
And I mean, you knew that like right on. Most people gotta have flirtations with it, especially when you're playing a team sport that especially for your school. There's especially being a dude. There's girls and whatever. There's the groupie thing is real.
Right?
And
Yeah.
it's like it's not there's no like jujitsu groupies or anything like that. You
None.
did it for the love of competing.
That's all I wanted to do, man. All I wanted to do was compete and be the best I can. And like, for the longest time, I competed like for everybody else at the gym, or because at New Breed, I put the team on my back for the kids group. When I was a kid, I put the kids on my back and I said, come on, let's go. Everybody needs to compete. And Paul Barbosa, who I touched on earlier, was a great at supporting that and making everybody better at that. So we all, as a kid, I say my kids, when I was a kid, my group of kids that was with me was probably the best ever. We had championships like left and right. Nobody really lost, and we walked out of every tournament with the team trophy, number one. It's like at NABJJF, they have Fernie Jiu Jitsu is always taking home the kid championships now because they have so many kids. We didn't have that many. We probably had like 10 kids, but none of us lost. We would just walk out of there with 10 gold medals and the team trophy every time. So that's the way we were. And so, for me to see it now, I'm like, dang, they need so many kids to get this. Granted, the sport's grown a tremendous amount, but I was like, dude, back in my day when I was a kid, it was different. So yeah, I always say that to people. Like, my kids group was the best.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because Jesse was like, I treat it as glorified sparring. I try to teach everyone else so they can relax and compete at their best. Which
Yep.
is a great And he said, "Yep,
Like
like
a
a boss,
boss.
like a boss."
Facts.
Yeah, man.
Jesse knows what's up, man.
And you
Jesse
guys
knows
are
what's
some of
up.
the best like jujitsu athletes that our Southern California region, can has ever produced.
Maybe as kids, I don't know about anymore. I'm out of shape now.
Hey, you know what? Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story, and that's a damn good story. I
It's
think
a
that's
great
Conan
story.
line, 5150 Conan. So
I try to tell my kids now, even like my girlfriend and her sister. I always tell them, when you get older, tell your story. And they're like, "What do you mean story? Jiu-jitsu is a story. It's a journey. Life is a story. Tell your story. Where did it begin? Where did it begin? How did you get here? Where did you get to? What was the end result? It's a story. I try to tell my kids that all the time. It's a big deal. Because like things like this, we're having an interview. You're asking me about like, all this stuff. Where'd you come from? How'd you start? It's a story, man. And we got to know each other's story back when we met a couple months ago. So it's dope. And now we're sitting here, friends, and anytime we see each other, it's always talking and having fun, man. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. It brings everybody together through story. You get to tell your story through everything. It's crazy. I love it.
yeah, dude. I mean, it's a large. It doesn't matter if you train for 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 years,
Doesn't
20
matter.
years. We're all here.
Yep. It's great, man. It's the best thing that's ever happened in my life was me putting on a gi, even though I hated it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of somebody that will probably need, he's probably going to go from A0 to A1 because he's all like, Jesse's like, quarantine got me out of shape. You're 115 pounds, but
Yeah.
you know, like you
I
just
could
went from flyweight or bantamweight, or what is it,
right.
atom weight
Atom
to
weight to
bantamweight. You'll be all right, kid. You'll be all
yeah,
right.
I could poop heavier than you, buddy.
Yeah, we're cruiserweight level. Me and Anthony, like
I'm
two
I'm
thirty five
I'm
plus.
heavy. I'm heavy. I'm heavyweight
You're heavy, heavy.
right now. Yeah.
Ditto. So ditto. So ditto. Now, obviously, dude. Um, let's talk wrestling. Like, because
Let's get into
we
it.
didn't do it. We didn't do it. On Gym Crashers, shout out to the Gym Crashers. Catch them every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on the
My
free admission
dudes.
YouTube and Facebook pages. Bam. And
My
yeah,
dudes.
Gym Crashers, right on. But
Love those guys, dude.
dude, yeah, dude,
Awesome
Dondo,
people.
uh,
Dondo.
Robert, yeah, and oh, Joey the Bull tried to challenge me, dude.
I seen that.
Yeah, I
Dang. It's almost
something's
like
gonna happen.
the
Something real bad's
DMX and
gonna
Snoop
happen.
Dogg thing, right? That's what it's
Huh?
like. It's almost like that Snoop Dogg versus DMX thing. They had that rap battle. That's what it's like, bro. That's what it's like. Yeah.
No, no. I hope he doesn't hear this, right? Because like he's literally gonna be like, "Yo,
That's
I'm
it.
DMX," you know?
I can picture him doing that too, man. I can picture that guy.
Oh, oh, Joey. Joey's gonna get hurt real bad. I'm just saying. But yeah, dude. So uh obviously you're training in jiu-jitsu. When did pro wrestling come into your life?
Before I was born. my
Really?
my whole family is pro wrestling. Love it. My uncle that has Down syndrome knows every WrestleMania, where it was held, what matches, who was the referee, everything. He knows everything. So he's like, I say, me and my mom say he's the encyclopedia of wrestling. Yeah, it's
Oh,
crazy.
that's sick. That's so sick. Is
Yeah.
that was oh, Jesse's saying make it for the belt. That might happen. It might happen, Jess. But yeah, dude, the fact that you're that was the polar opposite of me. Growing up, I was like the only. It was my parents and me and my sister. Me being the oldest. My sister kind of had flirtations with it and whatever, and then she just left, right? But your whole
Right.
family were wrestling fans.
Yeah. And going back to, as far as I know, my great grandma, my grandma Cam, uh, she watched it, and then my family, my mom and my uncles started watching it, and then yeah, when I was born into it basically. And my first wrestler I ever loved was the Undertaker. Still to this day, he's my favorite wrestler.
Is who?
Say again?
Oh, you were saying was who?
My the
Who's your?
Undertaker, the Undertaker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, by far my favorite. I think he's the greatest of all time.
Now, what era of Taker was that?
So it was probably, I probably fell in love with him when it was like the biker Taker, you know. But I watched videos when he had, when he first came out, then when he went purple gloves and all that. I know all of that, so it's not like that's what I grew up around. I had videos, and back when Blockbuster was a thing, we'd go get old wrestling videos and watch them and things like that. Me and my uncle Bobby would go, and my uncle Vincent would go to Blockbuster or wherever they had, the recordings, and rent them and then put them in the VCR, watch them again, watch them a third time, then we'd return them, get some more. So it was always a big thing for me, was wrestling. My whole life was revolved around wrestling for a long time.
Well, here's a run-in because I believe the same Bobby of which you speak says, "Hell
That's
yes,
that's my
that
uncle,
that's your uncle." Shout out to Uncle Bobby. Theo,
Uncle Bobby.
what's up, man? Because you raised him right. So damn right, dude.
Yes,
And
sir.
here's one thing that most people forget, right? I mean, back in the territory days, right? LA was the epicenter, the grand. I cry every time I go on the 110, where the 110 meets the 10 across from Staples Center, because
Right.
that's the Grand Olympic Auditorium. It is now a Korean church. Nothing wrong with that, but I mean, when you think about it, roller derby happened there. Ali fought there. Um, Obviously, Bruno Sammartino, Roddy Piper, in his feud with Chavo Guerrero Sr., was like, oh, let me
Yeah.
play the Mexican national anthem. He gets on his bagpipes and plays La Cucaracha. Like that shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my uncle Bobby, he was huge. He knows a lot of history, like going back to like NWA stuff like that. But like I said, I was just born into this thing, man. I just, like a lot of my friends that are older than me, like, oh, you don't know. I'm like, dude, stop. Like, I know. Oh, do you know who they try to quiz me, and they're like, do you know who the Hardy Boys are? I'm like, yeah, they're still relevant. Like, stop. You're trying to test me, and you don't even know that they're still around. So what do you know, buddy? Like, come on, give me something a little bit more challenging. So it's always funny to me.
Yeah, you know what? It is funny, and I love the fact that you've done your history, right? But your Uncle, Theo Bobby is basically like Taker 92, 93 era was the best. I agree with you. Although I personally didn't see a lot of it because you know what would happen? 92, 93 Taker, right? Well, he debuted in 89, right? But when he debuted in '89, and I'm preaching to the choir, but that was him and Paul Bear,
Yep.
right? And they would fucking put jobbers in body bags and whatever. Dude, I was scared shitless. That was the one time of like Wrestling Challenge or WWF Supersize where like I would go to like as soon as I hear that, and it was like how they do Kane now. They just like return from commercial break and you just see the pyros go off. That's what they fucking did with Taker, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have like, oh, squeegee mop, whatever infomercial, whatever, would play, and then you would hear gong, and that was it. And I would fucking beeline it to the bathroom, close the door. Like, I mean, still as a 35-year-old adult, there's not a moment that goes by that I don't shut off the light in a room and think that fucking Paul Bear and Taker are gonna appear on the other side. Like
Right.
that's that shit, dude. I mean, I kind of despise the warrior and whatever, but when fucking Taker locked him into the casket, and fucking Rene Goulet and whatever were essentially, getting him out and everything like that.
Yeah.
I cried. I did. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
See, I don't think I could ever be afraid of Undertaker because uh when I was younger, I think I don't even remember how old I was. My mom always tells a story though. She's always saying one year during like Halloween, there was a Michael Myers house by my grandma's, and I seen him, and I walked straight up to him, and I looked up, and then when we came home, my grandpa was watching Halloween, and I was like, "That's the guy," and I was never scared. So Undertaker, I was like, "Dude, this is dope." I don't know, maybe I'm part of the dark side, I guess.
Hey, you know what? Sometimes the dark side wins. I'm just saying. I mean, that's one thing that Jason House and Iridium, in MMA, they're like Team Dark Side. So there's
Right?
got to be
Yeah.
something to it. And
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
thank you for the correction. It's 90 Survivor Series 90 that Taker debuted. Absolutely, a shout out to Uncle Bobby there.
yes,
Uh,
sir.
so I mean, after obviously we're kind of like American Badass, but when did you kind of circle back in terms of like your kind of patronage of pro wrestling?
One more time, say that again.
Oh, so when was it like that you went back and kind of discovered some of the history of it?
Um, Probably off jump, man. To be honest with you, like we had a lot of old videos anyway. Um, but I think it'd probably be my uncle Bobby that was really like, oh, he debuted in this one again in Survivor Series and all this stuff. So I watched it from there, but I really paid attention to the Biker Taker because I guess the storylines were a little bit better during that time. For me, for I guess my generation, But I I was always a fan of the feud between him and Triple H, him and The Rock, him and Stone Cold. My mom's favorite is Kane, right? So we always seen eye to eye on that stuff. But my mom used to torture me when I was younger with a Kane mask. I knew, I don't know why, and she's probably gonna laugh and I'm probably gonna cry later. But she would put it on, and my mom has kind of frizzy hair, and she had like redder hair. And so she put the mask on. I would run to my nana's room, scared, crying like a little girl. But it's like I said, we've always been a wrestling family. We've always just watched it and paid attention to it. Even now, it's kind of hard to watch now, but I still try to pay attention. I still try to watch the pay per views, even though if I don't know what's going on, it's just, like I still try to pay attention to it. I just watched the Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio eye for an eye match. Yeah, yeah, hard to watch. Overall, good match, but the ending was terrible.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a great match. Otherwise, right?
it
It was.
was, it was
It was a
good.
great match, and I'm not a fan of Rollins. Never been a fan.
I don't
Never liked
like him.
Tyler Black. Never liked whatever the fuck he was. And even here's some of the hypocrisy, right? I think on YouTube, years back, WWE was doing this thing where like before they were superstars, right?
Yeah,
And they did one of Seth, and, training in Iowa and all that jazz. And essentially, they're like, oh, you were Blix there, or Drax the Destroyer, or whatever the
right.
fuck. Like, what was that?
Something like
And,
that. Yeah,
and yeah, and he was just like, oh, it was just a name. It's like, well, what about this? Oh, it's a name. What about Tyler Black? Uh, just I don't know. Like, and I was just like,
yeah. No
holy shit!
personality,
Like, really? Like, you gave no. And some of
no
the stances that
context.
he's taken, the very pro WWE tweets that he does and whatever, he's just wanted to be in the WWE. He's even said like, when he gets a action figure and he gets the prototype or whatever, essentially he fucking ships it to his mom and to give it away to kids. Like, he all he's ever cared about is being a
Getting there.
WWE superstar. He didn't give a shit about Ring of Honor. He didn't give a shit about the Indies. He didn't give,
Right.
and it's just it's weird. But I will admit, he is doing the best character work of his career as the Monday Night Messiah. I actually
I
have one
agree.
of the Black Earth wrestling shirts with him, as like the Messiah and whatever. Dude, it's so dope. And even like the
Yeah.
WWE iteration of it with the stained glass or whatever, it's dope, And the fact that before they got injured, he had the heaters of Authors of Pain and Buddy Murphy, who has, to me, the best finisher. That Chaos
I like that.
Theory,
I
whatever
like
it's like,
that.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I've never been a Rollins guy, but I guess I've never been a Roman Reigns guy either. I've always kind of just found him annoying. Um, I was a Dean Ambrose fan, man. I guess like if I had to choose one to stay there, it'd probably be Dean. But yeah, Seth is just kind of annoying to me. I don't like his voice. It's kind of too raspy for me. It sounds nasally. It's just I don't like it. But I think it was a good storyline to get Dominic in it. I guess if you're gonna set
uh,
him up, if you're gonna set him up, set him up correctly. I guess with one of the head honchos.
Um, you know, you might say that, and with all due respect, but I mean, the best father son kind of storyline that the WWF has ever done was back in the early days of like the early '90s with Dusty and
All
Dustin
right,
Rhodes and
for sure.
fucking DiBiase beating the shit out of Dustin, him and Virgil, like that was like the best whatever. So to say in 2020, I mean, they could have done that. You know,
Similar.
you could have done that storyline again, and nobody the better because Jim Cornette always says, if you haven't seen it, it's new to you, and you've got like literally two generations of wrestling fan. We had Cena, and then now this current generation, right? And they haven't seen that. All right.
Yeah,
They're not the Anthony Aguileras of the world, right? So if they're 18 to 20 or whatever, assuming that they're still watching, and it's just like, like you could have done that.
yeah. I think maybe that's just the best person they could have put him with. I guess you could say that's probably what I meant. But I mean, because there's not too many good guys you could put him with now. I don't know. Wrestling's hard right now. It's hard to watch. You got none of the guys I liked are there anymore. They're all retired. It was funny because when I watched the Undertaker doc, which is a 5 out of 5 for me. Uh, I think it's better than the Jordan documentary, in my opinion. Not being biased, I don't like Jordan, but I thought the Jordan doc was amazing. But the Undertaker documentary was better, and it was like, wow, my childhood's really over now. That was what it felt like. Like, obviously, I'm a big Kobe fan. I'm a huge Kobe fan. And then when he retired, I was like, oh, my childhood's over. Then I was like, wait, Undertaker's still around. Oh. And now that he's like, yeah, I'm done. I'm like, wait, now I'm an adult. Now I'm an adult. I don't know what to do with my life. So that, really made me was like, oh wow, I'm not a kid no more. I can't.
Well,
It's weird.
you're definitely the Undertaker fan because I mean, towards the last three episodes of that doc, he was much like you. He didn't know what the fuck to do with his life either, you know. And there was a point where it was just like, what in the like WWE became the place where all of your dream matches or whatever came to die, right? So
Right.
you had Sting come get jobbed out, and then Rollins, buckle bomb him to, I mean, literally like a quadriplegic, right? Then you had Styles and Nakamura, did an amazing match. You can watch that
All
over
day
and
long.
over, and it never
Yep.
gets old. And even the storyline building up to it,
It was
and
really good.
then yeah, and then you get to and Nakamura. That's a guy who during the time of Antonio Inoki, wanting his wrestlers to become
Yep.
fighters, for the Inoki Genome Federation, which Josh Barnett, was
Josh.
a champion for, and and what have you. Nakamura has a legit like 3-1 record. Like
Right,
he's
yeah.
legit, you know.
That
And
guy's
it's just like
crazy.
they fought at WrestleMania, and it's like, what in the fuck is this? I never want to see this again.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like they just did Nakamura so wrong. They just did his character like no good, man. Like I felt like they did okay with AJ's leading up. Like I feel like they're not doing enough with him now. But Nakamura, I feel like they never really did anything with him enough to like make him really pop. I will say he's a very good heel, in my opinion. I think he's a really good heel. Just like AJ is too. I think AJ is a really good heel as well.
Yeah, well, Nakamura can do anything. That guy, and especially the fact that they haven't utilized him, it's just like, well, WCW had Muda in his prime. WWE had, literally Nakamura, Kairi Sane, and Asuka, right? All on the roster, all at the same time, and also the one in NXT. I can't remember her name. It's blanking, but
I know who
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah.
I
Uh,
can't think of her name either.
Now she's just screaming like
Right.
weird shit, you know. But they had four of the like top Japanese talent at one time and could do fuck all with them.
I think they're doing a better job with Oscar than any of them.
Now, but it took 4 years.
It did take a while. I think they're doing a lot with her now. That I don't know.
But I think
Yeah,
with Asuka, it's more like almost like the Peter from Office Space, where she just didn't give a shit anymore, and then they're like, "We'll give you more shit," and blah blah blah. Oh, your friend's living, we'll give you more shit. Like,
I think
and
too. Like maybe it's the fact that she doesn't speak on the mic a lot. I don't know. Maybe that could play
yeah,
a little part of it. Because
yeah,
Nakamura did talk on talked on the mic a little bit more. Not a
yeah.
lot, but
I know Nakamura can talk because back in the days when Court Bauer was still doing the MLW podcast, he would
mhm,
talk, and they were still doing the podcast essentially when Nakamura was getting, signed and whatever, and it was like, yeah, he knows enough to do a
right.
decent promo, so yeah, and
I mean,
yeah, dude,
even his promo is still better than Roman Reigns. So
hell yes, damn right he is. He can
he
do
doesn't
that
have to
shit
say
all,
anything. He doesn't have to say
you know.
anything.
He could literally do that in how's it in Japanese, and it's still better than a Roman Reigns English promo. Um, that's yeah. And Daddy C said you were 2 years old, ha ha. And
That's my
wrestling's
mama.
horrible now. Times are changing, says Jesse Velasquez. And yes, I agree. Nakamura should have been champ 2 times already.
Easily,
Absolutely.
easily. I agree with
And he
that
was
100%.
yeah, and Styles has been that, and he doesn't even have the size of Nakamura. Nakamura is a legit 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah, I don't know. Wrestling just, in my opinion, is kind of whack now. It's hard to watch. Me and my boss, David Estendi, he's my boss in two different places. That's kind of crazy. But we talk about wrestling. He made me buy WWE 2K20. It is the worst game I've ever played in my life. Like we played 2 or 3 games on it, and we're like, there's a delay. I didn't even know. I thought it was a CPU playing because I was literally trying to move and it wasn't moving. Then 5 seconds later, I'd start moving, and I was like, "What is this?" We played 3 games. I was like, "Yo, bro, I'm deleting this. This is horrible." And my boss David, he was just like, "Bro, 2K19 so much better." I was like, "It is," but like, because he's a big wrestling guy too. We bought or he got one of our kids a belt, a WWE belt for we gave the kids awards for wrestling, and
Oh
this kid's a
wow!
he's a huge wrestling fan, and his name's Wyatt. We call him Randy Orton because he walks like Randy Orton, dude. I'm gonna record this kid. he walks so slow, like he's sneaking up on his prey, about to RKO kids. So we started calling him Randy, and in the beginning he took it offensive, like we're talking bad about him. He's like, "Don't call me that." And then during the season, he kind of got used to it, and we would start telling him, "Hey, go RKO this kid," and he would go do it. He started getting comfortable, and he would go RKO kids. So my boss, Estendi, he got this kid a WWE belt, one of the new ones, the World Championship belts, and we gave that to him with his awards. So it was cool because he's never had a belt like that before. So it was cool to see that, like, and he was like, "This for me?" Like he was freaking out. It was dope. It was dope. But yeah,
Wow.
my boss is a big wrestling fan too. So we sit there, we talk about wrestling. We'll watch the pay-per-views together and stuff like that.
Shout out to your boss.
He's
Shout out to your boss. And you said his name is Wyatt, right?
Yeah, this kid that got the belt, his name's Wyatt.
And it's funny because he could have been Bray, but he went with
That's one of
Randy
his favorite
Orton.
wrestlers is Bray and Finn Balor are his two favorites. He
I did
loves
the
Finn.
Balor thing. Yeah.
he
Yes.
he loves those two, but he walks like Randy Orton. And it's not on purpose, it's just the way he walks. We'll see him
Hey,
walking down the hall and he's just like walking real slow, looking around. I'm like, dude, this kid's gonna RKO somebody one of these days. Holy, but kid's dope. My boss, because we teach at well, he teaches. He's the head coach at La Mirada, and then I'm his assistant and head coach for the girls. And then he's gonna be my new boss at UFC gym. So yeah, we're always together. We play video games late at night till like midnight. We're always, he's one of my best friends. So it's dope. It's dope to have a boss as a best friend.
yeah, best friend, wrestling fan, all that. It's dope.
the the only downside of the guy is it. He likes the Chiefs. I'm a diehard Raider fan,
Okay.
and he's a Celtic fan. And as you can see, I'm a Laker fan. I'm a diehard Laker fan. So those are the two cons to the guy. But
Okay.
other than that, he's a dope guy. Yeah.
In terms of a boss, kind of employee relationship, those two things being it, I think you guys will be fine. I think
Oh
you guys will
yeah.
be absolutely fine.
We get together all the time. Even like we don't see eye to eye, we're like, okay, what's the goal? All right, let's see where we can meet in the middle and things like that. Game plan for the kids' season and all that. It's tough though, man, during this quarantine to kind of have a game plan for the kids. It's tough. We can't, like CIF said, we can't practice. We could host like cardio drills, but there's no contact. We can't have any contact. So that kind of
That
ruins the
negates
season
anything
for
that you're
us.
trying to do.
Yeah. So I mean, there's not really a purpose in having practices, but we need to get on the ball with that too, because season's gonna come around the corner before we know it, and CIF's gonna be like, yeah, it's now, and we're gonna be screwed. So we got to get on the ball.
Yeah, man. And Stephen Tatum says, "Yeah, damn right. Make work fun. Let's go." And he's doing the bit of the Daniel Bryan's of the yes, yes,
All
yes. There
day.
you go. Now,
Where's that guy
dude.
at too? Where's Daniel Bryan at? I don't even know.
Well,
Is
dude,
he on
he's
TV
he's out
still?
here challenging The Rock, and
I seen that, but he just had a kid though too, right? So
yes, they had their
maybe
second
maybe
child.
that's why he's mad.
It's weird because I think both of them, both Bella twins,
But
had their
they
babies
had.
within a week of each other.
I mean, yeah. I feel
It
like
has
there's drama, in my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you one thing or whatever. But see, okay, before we go, I want to get your thoughts on a potential Rock versus Daniel Bryan match.
Never will happen, but if it did, it'd be dope. I think Daniel can carry the Rock a little bit more than John Cena did, for sure. I felt like the first the first WrestleMania they did was terrible. It was almost like a Brock Lesnar Goldberg WrestleMania 20 match. That's what it felt like to me. That's the way it felt. The second one, they did a much better job of moving. It was a lot quicker pace. It wasn't very quick, but it was quicker pace. But I feel like Daniel Bryan is the type of guy that could carry anybody, especially the older guys. I feel like he moves a lot more than John Cena does, and I feel like he could definitely carry the load.
So for me, and this is the first time I've actually publicly addressed this, but this is the pro wrestling version of Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. too, in the
I could agree
sense
with that.
that when you think about dream matches, dream matches for either man to have, Roy Jones Jr., Mike Tyson, The Rock, Daniel Bryan, when you think of all of the dream matches that could happen, the last names, the very last names that you're going to think about if you're doing a top 10 is the names presented, right? Because
That's
who's
true.
clamoring for a Rock Daniel Bryan match? Probably some dude in a storm shelter waiting for the aliens to come. You
Right?
know,
Yeah, for
who
sure.
who in 2020 is clamoring for a sock and boppers exhibition match between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.? Again, that same dude
It's
living at home with his mom
it's
underneath
crazy.
in the basement. So
It's a crazy thing.
right, and Rock is even saying, "Oh, looks like I'm doing the job." This is a third generation. Screw the movie star stuff. This is a third generation wrestler that's giving you the finish. He's breaking kayfabe, right? So if he's telling you a year in advance what the outcome is going to be, then why fucking even have the match?
Because it's gonna still be better than all the stuff they put on right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not the dumbest thing they could do because obviously we're we're sitting here post Extreme Rules horror show and whatever. And good lord, who would have thought in 2020 that Impact Wrestling would have a better pay per view on the same weekend? And they did just by doing wrestling.
I did like the Bray Wyatt match though. I like the cinematic matches. I think they're good, but I don't
Can't
know.
even remember it. I
Oh, I'm
probably
not saying it was great. It was good. It was
yeah.
probably the best match on the whole card.
No, no. I personally kind of extracted it from memory because
I
it's
think
better that way.
I think the best match they've had in that type of style is still the Undertaker match. Undertaker AJ Styles.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the best match that they could have done for an aging Taker because I
Oh,
mean
for sure.
to to do
For sure.
I mean they were going to do, Tampa, right? They were going to do Tampa and Styles and Taker in an actual match and whatever. So it would, no matter what it was, and that would have been Taker's swan song, right? And he was doing AJ a solid because they have a lot of the same views on things, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you know, but I don't think you could have gotten a better outcome than, you know, what ended up happening because of quarantine.
He did say it was hard though. Uh Undertaker did. He said it was hard because they kept like like a movie scene almost. Stopping it and then re-going. He was like, my body's cooling down, then I have to re-warm up, then I have to cool down again, then I'm re-warm up. So in a sense, it was a really tough match anyway, even though it was really, different, I guess you could say. But I do think it was the best match for him. But I do think also AJ is a type of guy that can carry somebody of an older generation in a regular match. So
Yeah,
I think it would have been a good match either way.
I'm good with the way that it ended. I
Oh,
mean,
for sure.
I would have loved, like, I even hate when Taker came back as a modified, hybrid of American Badass and old school Taker. I didn't like the straps or whatever. Like, I actually wanted him just to go fucking back to the mortician gimmick, but I mean, blah, whatever. But that it's the best thing that could, like. It's weird to say, but COVID-19 was the best thing to ever happen for a swan song for the Undertaker.
I agree. I think that's the best matchup for him too. 'Cause I can't picture him even though I said Daniel Bryan can carry somebody a little bit older and stuff like that. I don't think that would have made out to be a better match, in my opinion. I feel like AJ's a lot. He's fast too, but he's not as fast as Daniel Bryan, and he knows how to kind of tune a match. and set pace to a match. Daniel Bryan, slow and then fast, slow and fast. AJ is kind of like, oh, I could take it this pace, or I could speed it up and go the whole match this pace. That's what I do like about AJ. I think AJ is the best right now, in
Yeah,
my
yes,
opinion. In my
I
opinion.
agree. I agree. There's no disputation here, not at all,
I
dude.
mean,
But
it's kind of
I
hard.
mean, in terms of no disputing, what has gotten Anthony Aguilera to the dance, man? It's the swarm of people, like the feverish capacity crowd of your community, so to speak. So let's get some shout outs out of the way, my man.
Oh, I mean, first off, my family, obviously, right? I mean, my mom. I could hear you, and then I hear it in the background because I hear the TV in the living room. I hear my mama, obviously my uncle, Bobby, Uncle Vincent, my nana, my brother. Uh, it's my girlfriend's birthday in a couple days. We just celebrated. We're close to celebrating 4 years together, so that's crazy. Um, and she's about to get a car too, so it's dope. Her little sister Amanda, who's like my little sister, annoying, but I love her. Obviously my girlfriend's family. Huge shout out to Tillis. Without him, I don't know where I'd be in jiu-jitsu. I don't know where I would be training. That guy took me in when I was on a downward spiral. He took me in and got me more in shape, I guess, and then I kind of went away from it. Uh, but all my training partners beat me up every day. Xavier, Chris, Justin, Angie, all them. Obviously, you guys, Mr. Woods, my boy. Thank you for putting me on the show. You know, all the guys at Gym Crashers, my boys, is my dudes. Yeah, man. I think Mike Beltron's another one.
Yeah,
You know, that's my dude. Our Life CBD, always gotta rep them. Uh, Breakpoint. I just signed a new contract with them. It's a gi company. Um, I signed a 2-year contract with them. I'm gonna get a couple gis and stuff like that to look fresh. You know what I'm saying? Um, Cauliflower Nation with the Holy Grail, His Holiness. Um, well, who else is there? I'm trying to think. Our Life, Cauliflower Nation. Oh, my massage guy Rob. He sponsors me. That guy. I was having a lot of shoulder issues recently on my right shoulder, and I contacted him. I didn't know if he was working right now because the whole COVID thing. And yeah, man, come in. He worked on my shoulder. I could do this now, and I'm like, feels great. So that's awesome. But I think that's it, man. I think that's all the shouts I got. I shouted out a lot of people.
dude. No, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And I gotta shout out your family for raising your right in terms of wrestling prowess. So they chimed in on here. Bobby C, Danny C. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to your mom. Just awesome. She raised an incredible human being. Happy anniversary.
Thank you,
And
thank you.
just I can't wait to see you again, my brother.
Hey,
But for
man.
those
Hopefully
who,
in person.
yeah, in person,
Hopefully
right?
in
In
person
person.
too.
Now, obviously, for those who haven't followed you already on social media, where can they find you?
Facebook, obviously Anthony Aguilera. Instagram, it's Anthony 2798. And yeah, that's it. I have a Twitter, but I don't go on it. I only have like NBA 2K stuff on there, so I don't use it at all. Those are my
That's
main
something.
socials.
Something. Yeah, dude. And then shout out to Stephen Tatum, one of my high school friends. He's like, yeah, massage therapy is awesome.
It's the
Yes, yes,
best,
yes.
man. It's much
Yeah,
needed in the sport like jiu-jitsu.
damn right, dude.
I didn't recognize it till recently. Honestly, I was like, I don't need that stuff. I tore my knee. I tore my LCL when I was 14. I didn't get surgery. I just went back to training. I didn't care. now my body's all paying for it, and I'm like, dude, I need this stuff. I didn't recognize how big of an impact it was on your body and how much you actually needed this stuff. But now that I'm like, holy, this stuff is actually really much needed. And I shout out my guy all the time. Um, he gives really good massages, and he has the blades and the cupping and all that stuff. It works really well, man. It makes me
Yeah,
feel as young as I am.
there it is. There it is. The tenured young vet, as the good
21.
brother said, the tenured young vet. Dude, thank you for joining us. You guys,
Always,
thank
brother.
you for coming on. Kind of short notice and just fucking shooting the shit, man.
Hey, man. It's always fun. It's always fun. Shout out to the fans, man. You guys supporting Woods, man. I always try to hop on the podcast too. I didn't know I could comment though. I didn't know it was like that. I didn't know I couldn't. I mean, now I'm gonna start commenting on everything. So be
All
ready
right,
for the ambush of
absolutely.
Anthony.
Hell yes, you can. And if you guys want to do just like Anthony, you can do that by subscribing to the According to Woods Facebook and YouTube pages, and you can comment on real time. So, bam,
I
there it
got it.
is, and you might
I'm
appear
on that.
right on the screen.
I'm gonna be jumping in on that. Best believe.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right?
But dude,
Yeah.
thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on. And this has been According to Woods with Anthony Aguilera. Bam, and we are out. Again, like,
Later,
share, and
guys.
subscribe. Bye. Oh, we're still on.